Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Matara, Jai Bhairava. So this video is more or less a general one, not on a specific deity or spiritual topic. But we are at that time when Saturn is coming to an end of its cycle through the zodiac. So it has entered into the Revati Nakshatra, which is almost at the final stage of the zodiac. And it will pass through this nakshatra for a period of few months. You can check the Drik Panchang and get the exact dates and all that. But the base idea is that this is where Saturn is a graha that rules discipline, that rules hard work, that rules humility, among other things. And Revati is the time when it is transitioning from one state to the other state. Because right after this, when it enters, once it crosses the last zodiac and enters into Mesha, it is going to restart its whole karmic cycle again. So this state, the last stage of Saturn's journey through the skies, is basically an audit of karmas. So all kinds of karmas that are carried forward is to be audited internally, and that which is not useful has to be dropped off. Only then can the next cycle of evolution come into the individual, whether he is an upasaka or whether he is an ordinary person. This is the primary theme that will come as Saturn passes through the nakshatra of Revati. Specifically for upasakas, those who are into any kind of sadhana, this is also the time to reevaluate things that you are doing, your associations, and what needs to be dropped. It is very important and something that a lot of people miss. A significant part of progress in sadhana is also linked to the ability to drop things. You cannot carry everything that you have been doing. Sadhana is not exactly like anything else that you might have encountered and done in your life. So if you have been following a particular meditation technique from a particular individual, or some kind of yoga somewhere, some kind of Vedanta somewhere, some kind of mantra japa somewhere, some tantra somewhere, a lot of things, hodgepodge, etc. This is the time to sit down and evaluate which of these actually helps you, and that which does not help, this is the time to give up that thing. It is a time to do visarjan of those spiritual activities that which may be good in their own way but have not been that helpful to you, because each individual's path is very unique and connected to the purvajanma samskaras in the spiritual process that he or she has acquired. So this is a time when one does the sadhana, one also re-evaluates where one exactly stands, what have they achieved in sadhana, how far have they reached, is it the right path? There are people for whom this question has already been crossed earlier. So they are quite set in their path. Their connection and contact with the deity and their path is very intimate, very deep. So for them, there is no change of anything. In that case, they only evolve into a more deeper engagement with the same path and the same devatas. But then there are a lot of people, especially people who have been trying sadhana for the first time, for whom this period is actually the time to sit back and evaluate that what sadhanas I have done, and do I feel that they are helping me or not helping me. It is also important, and when I say sadhana, it doesn't mean only the path, it also means the broader aspects of sadhana. Again, coming back to the point, there are many I know who who will attend a retreat somewhere and then they'll go somewhere else, like 4 or 5 different places. For them, spirituality is still that kind of a very unique shopping mall experience deep inside, that I want a little bit of this, little bit of that, little bit of that also. Jo milta hai sab keep accumulating inside. That is a tendency which actually causes harm to the upasaka after a point. That is very good at the initial stages. When you are at the nursery, KG, class 1, class 2 of sadhana, it is very good. Once you cross these stages and go higher up, then it becomes very laser focused. You cannot just randomly pick up anything and everything from everywhere. In fact, it is also a very terrible idea to go to too many spiritual gurus, because each one is right in his own way, but each one is unique in its own way. He or she will have his own energy. If you can gel with all the spiritual gurus and every kind of energy, that means you are at the bottom of the whole hierarchy of spiritual processes. You have not developed your unique character. You have not developed your own strengths. You do not know yourself. So that is why you are trying out various things. No harm in that initially, but eventually a time comes when you have to sit back and very honestly self evaluate that what is it that is helping, what is it that is not helping. That which is not helping have to be gracefully dropped and moved forward. You cannot carry baggages. In fact, the whole of sadhana later on is to drop baggages, drop that which is not needed. Do not become a tree and hang on to things that are old and that have crossed their purpose. This understanding is very important. So therefore it's possible that sometimes it can happen with devatas also, in the sense that I know people who have worshipped a certain deity for a few years, and then some incident happened, some experience happened, or maybe the devata that they had worshipped indicated through various signs, nimittas, dreams and other ways that maybe they should focus on another deity, because in the realm of devatas this idea of jealousy and fight does not work. It only works in the realm of the human beings. So it's very much possible somebody may have started off uh, as a Shakta, worshipping Shakti Upasana, then years later realize that no, maybe the Vaishnava path is more suited. So they make a shift from one to the other. It is perfectly all right. Same way, I know people, many of them, who started in a Vaishnava path, and then later on, due to experiences of Durga, Kali, they shifted into the Shakta path and completely shifted, fully and totally, absolutely shifted. So the point is, and they're doing very good in their sadhana, very advanced in their sadhana, because you do not know exactly that what is the purvajanma samskara that you carry. The good thing with devatas is that whomsoever you start worshipping, if your faith is genuine, if your path is solid, and if you're not taking shortcuts, if you are also changing your own self along with the sadhana, then the deity is going to eventually lead you to the right path or the right devata who is going to benefit you in your spiritual journey. So all these changes, you know, going through one path, changing to the another, going through one guru and it is not working, okay, you can drop the guru and go ahead. Yes, it is possible. In fact, tantras are also categorical sometimes, that if you find that the guru is not beneficial after a point, then you have the right to take another guru. In fact, there are very strong words mentioned in some of the tantras with respect to that. And we do know examples of great masters and saints who had multiple gurus. For example, Ramakrishna had so many gurus until finally he had a Bhairavi Brahmani, who was his Tantra guru. Then Totapuri Maharaj, who was Advaita guru. Before that, there were Vaishnava gurus he had. So there are many gurus. It's perfectly all right. Even the greatest example of this comes to us from the scriptures of the story of Bhagavan Dattatreya, who had so many different gurus. So when the Upasaka is ready, he or she can have multiple gurus. Only criteria is that you cannot have multiple gurus at the same time, because there is going to be a clash and a conflict. You can only choose one once you have understood, taken the Vidya, transformed yourself, and with a clear understanding, and very often with the approval of that same guru, one moves forward into something else. It is also possible, because the reality of these times are very strange, that one may have been associated with a sampradaya or a guru and then found after a few years that it is not beneficial to them, and then they can gracefully move out of that system and join something else. Both are possible. Problems though happen when certain gurus or certain shishyas become over possessive and they take this as some sort of an insult, and then the human egos and all this comes in, and then it becomes a mess. That also happens in reality. I've seen that too. But technically, the idea of transition is very integral to sadhana. There are possibilities of people who might have one guru and one path and one deity, then they're very lucky. There's nothing to speak about that. That happens very, it's not very often, but it does happen. What happens more, what I've seen more happening is that people transitioning from one path to the other, one sampradaya to another, one guru to another. It is okay to do that. There is nothing wrong in it. Sometimes there are different vidyas that come from different gurus. That is also all right. But coming to the main point, whenever Saturn is passing through these nakshatras and completing its 30-year cycle, Saturn is karma, any type of karma, materialistic karma, secular karma, or spiritual dharmic karma activities. Okay. It is a time to re-evaluate all the things that have been done and decide that what is the core, what is the key that is useful, what is it that is working, and what is it that is not working. And then one can mentally, with reverence, do visarjan of those practices which are not useful to you, so that you can move forward without being tied back, tied down by unnecessary baggage and even spiritual baggage. In order to understand this, it is not so simple. It's not a 1 second analysis of things and very knee-jerk analysis. You hear this video and immediately there'll be people commenting, oh, I know, I just passed through this, I don't like this guru, I don't do this, etc. No, that's just a immediate reaction. The correct way to evaluate this is you do your sadhana, spend some time, if possible, in relative isolation. Cut yourself out from everybody, most importantly from people close to you, friends, family, wife, children, etc. These are the closest people. Spend a few days away from them, spend a few days away from your friends, spend a few days away from the internet, and worship the deities. Do whatever sadhana you are doing. Along with it, meditate. Along with it, take a pen and paper and write down. Be absolutely crystal clear and honest in your self-evaluation. So imbibe the truth that Bhairava manifests. Step out of yourself and look at yourself. See that what have you gained? What is it that gives you satisfaction and joy of these things? It cannot be that everything gives you equal amount of satisfaction. I mean, as I said, if you think that everything gives you satisfaction, all deities are equally beloved to you, all gurus are fantastic, then either you are not very honest with yourself or you are perhaps at the very beginning stages of sadhana. Because as you go deeper, you may like everything, but there are some who you will like more. There are some paths you will like more, some sadhanas you will like more, some devatas you will like more. It will come organically and naturally because those deities will start manifesting very easily. In my case, for example, when I started Skanda Upasana, I had no intention of doing it, but I was told categorically when the Kamakhya corridor case started that I should also worship Skanda Upasana. It was a direction from Ma Kamakhya through the words of the astrologers who were present. And they were very competent people, some of the best I've seen. In fact, perhaps the best I've seen till date. Whatever they had mentioned, which I have still written down, came with tremendous accuracy because it was finally the end of a day, not a normal prashna that is done, not a normal jyotisha, but it was a deva prashna. So it had to be done in the kshetra of the deity where the prashna is. And therefore, during the course of the prashna, the individual becomes like an oracle to the devata. And later I had further interactions with the same people and more clarity came in the way they explain things. So that is where it was very clearly directed to me that I should worship Skanda Upasana with certain specific starting points. And as I kept following them, within a few months, I met somebody who gave me a Kartikeya Upasana, Skanda Upasana, and who had been a Skanda Upasak for almost 8 generations of their family. Very traditional Skanda Upasaks. And what I remember, the most interesting part was that when I was sitting there, without me uttering a word, he could suddenly psychically, intuitively told me that I was doing a specific thing about Skanda. There are many, like all deities, Skanda, Kartikeya also has different types of mantras, paddhatis, sadhanas, etc. As you go deeper and deeper, you realize that. And among these things, I was doing something very specific, something that is not done by people on day one normally, but the intuitive guidance was that I should start that because there was a lot of pressure initially at that time to back off from the court case by various people and groups who had their own vested interests. But this gentleman, this very high caliber upasaka, uh, he could figure out instantly as he was talking to me that which exact sadhana of skanda I was doing. And it is not so easy to figure out until one has some blessings. Then I realized while speaking to him that he comes from a family where 10 generations they have been worshipping Kartikeya. And there are a lot of very key vital points explained to me. And then as I kept doing more sadhana, I remember the 144th day of the sadhana, which is actually completes a full mandala. I was able to visit one of the most powerful Kartikeya temples on the day which is considered as the most powerful day for his Utsavam and Upasana special in Tamil Nadu. Though there were huge crowds, etc., I was able to enter, have darshan, and um, had a very terrific experience. So my point is all these things happened primarily because I have some past life Purvajanma links to Skanda Upasana, very strong ones. So right at the correct moment in this life, the deity enters into the space, into the mind space, psychology of the Upasaka, especially in a situation of conflict and war, because Kartikeya is himself is a devata of war. I mean, of all the deities that we have, perhaps there is nobody who was conceived with the primary purpose that he will be a destroyer of asuras. The birth of Kartikeya was primarily because the gods wanted somebody to be born from Shiva who has the power to lead the divine army and destroy innumerable asuras, especially with his divine weapon, the sphere. So that is in that kind of an environment, this terrific Devata entered into my life, and then I had a lot of experience at a very quick progression as I kept doing the mantra sadhanas, and there were other paddhatis that came in over time. Thankfully, it's his blessing because he sends the thought or the guidance to somebody who knows something that I should be doing, because Skanda Upasana was not natural and normal for me. And that individual by that inspiration comes and tells me that, okay, this is one thing you can do, this is a paddhati that is there, just like that, when they're not even aware that I'm actually worshipping him, because I at that time would not mention in open that I was doing Skanda Upasana. So all this basically reiterates the point that sometimes you can enter and do a sadhana which is meant for you, a devata who with whom you might have had a past life link, and there is some karma, very strong karma involved with the deity. Yes, you have karmas with devatas also, by the way, just like you have karmas with human beings. And so he comes back into my life in this lifetime and very quickly produces results. Automatically, it creates a very strong bond, because at the end of the day, sadhana is also result based. Some degree of spiritual results, I mean, not even material. Leave aside the material aspect for now. But even if you don't feel that spiritual contact with the deity, then you will not be able to sustain that. So what has happened is that the Skanda Upasana became an integral part of my sadhana even today, and it will be there till the last day of my life. Just like I worship Kamakhya, I worship Bhairava, I worship Tara. Similarly, Skanda, these four devatas. So the point of this example is that you sit down and you evaluate that the deities that you worship, who is it that gives you the maximum contact, who is it with whom you feel there is a spiritual bonding, there is a materialistic bonding, who responds to you, or who at least takes you into a meditative state, who gives you, generates bliss inside you, who generates that sammohana. When a devata is actually working with an upasaka, he or she has so much energy that he will create a pull inside your heart and you will feel like, oh, I want to do this. Whereas if a deity is not meant for you, perhaps, and you have been worshipping and you felt no contact with the deity, then perhaps you need to reevaluate and change the sadhanas that you are doing. Same way, same principle applies when it comes to sampradayas, when it comes to gurus, etc. You sit down and decide that, okay, is this the right individual? Is this the right guru? Is this the right path? Is this the right sampradaya? Am I benefiting from it? Do I like it? Are the demands Because whenever you join a sampradaya, there is always a kind of expectation. There is something that the upasaka, the shishya brings into the table, something that the guru brings to the table, just like any other human equation. And a fair evaluation is always key for these things. Is it useful? Is it helpful? If it is not, then this is the time to move beyond that. But that movement must be done in a very clean mind, with the least amount of friction, clear communication. And once somebody moves out of that zone, ensure that you don't come back again. So there has to be a complete evaluation. It cannot be a knee-jerk reaction. This evaluation comes when you are able to spend time away from people with whom you have created the greatest amount of maya. And the greatest maya is always with the people you are surrounding yourself with. And that comes with family, your spiritual family, anybody else. Remove all that, spend some time in isolation, spend some time with yourself, meditate, go back deep inside your life, year by year, 1, 2, 3, 4, last 30 years, what are the key things that you have done? That itself is a meditation. The good, the bad, the embarrassing, the ignorant, the uplifting, every kind of experience. And then you ask yourself, where do you stand with respect to this? What is it that you have gained? Gained means not necessarily in a materialistic sense. Sometimes an experience, even a bad experience, can be a teacher. It can help you to modify your behavior. It can help you to become stronger. It can help you to understand something about the world. So all these are gains. And on these foundations, you decide what is the next step you have to do. So this whole auditing process of spirituality and one's own life, because spirituality is not devoid of life, is best done in this period when Saturn is passing through the end of its cycle in zodiac. As it is, the Rashi of Meena is the 12th house, that is the house where it is like a deep meditative state, the state of Samadhi, but also the dark oceans, and not just the normal oceans, these are vast, the cosmic oceans. This is also the state where you give up things. You don't hang on to things, you learn to give up that which needs to be given up. One of the most important lessons of life and spirituality is learning to give up what needs to be given up, to do visarjan of things that you are carrying along which is not useful for you, be it emotions, be it karmas, be it different types of negativities, be it fruitless exercises, everything. And once you decide that these things have to be given up in a very calm manner, in a very humble manner, with a lot of gratitude, you can just give everything up to the feet of the Devata. For example, if Bhairava is your main Devata, then you give up everything to his feet which is not useful. And once you give up, don't turn back. It has to be a final giving up. It cannot be that, oh, I give up these things. Like people do when they, trying to quit smoking. I'm giving up smoking today, and 3 days later I start back. I'm giving up this particular practice in sadhana today, and then 2 months later I start back. No. So that is why this evaluation has to be very clear. Whoever is able to do this will automatically go to the next stages of sadhana. We are, as it is, passing through times where a lot of karmas are being churned out at a massive scale for humanity. In the coming years as well, we are already into this phase, which is very good for upasakas, by the way. It may not be materialistically very useful for you, but spiritually this can take an upasaka into very quick states of deep progress, which in normal circumstances might have taken, anywhere between 10 to 20 years or more. So at the end of the day, be eternally grateful to the gods, be eternally grateful to what you have at this moment, where you are at this moment, whatever has been given to you, because this moment is the key moment for everything. Whole of misery is because we do not accept reality. And that is why the doors of perception has to be cleared. The whole of sadhana is cleansing your doors of perception so that you can see reality as it is. Not just see, you accept it as it is. You accept it without friction, without struggle, without trying to impose narratives and notions onto reality. Not a sad story of counting what is it that you missed out and what other people have and you don't have. Leave all that aside. Just be absolutely grateful to the God you worship for this very moment that you are alive and that you are better than many others who may be in a worse condition than you are. So, with this thought, practice this for the next few months, and I hope it will be useful to at least some people. Jai Ma Kamakhya, Jai Ma Tara, Jai Bhairava.